Good morning, guys. Welcome to day 3. I am Miss Dupree. I've been your reading teacher this week. We are working on a formative task this week about the giant Pacific octopus. Today, we're going to start talking about our narrative writing topic for the week. So below, I have the topic. It says a giant Pacific octopus is hiding in its den because there are enemies nearby. It sees an unopened jar of clams that fell into the ocean with its lid still on it. How will the octopus get to the jar? How will it open the jar? So, all week we're going to be reading informational text to help us use some of that stuff that we learn about the octopus in our fictitious story. So, remember, fictitious means it's going to be make believe, right? So, we're going to be writing a story about an octopus that is trying to hide from enemies, but at the same time trying to get to a jar of clams. And we're going to use what we've learned about the octopus to tell us how he hides, how he gets to the jar of clams, and how he will open the jar of clams. Okay, so we're going to use actual facts that we've learned within our fictitious story. A little bit of vocabulary before we get started with our reading today. It says den, small rocky places used for its home. Beak, the hard part of an octopus's body. Midden, a pile of shells an octopus leaves outside its den. Siphon, a tube-shaped body part that splashed water out. So these will be important as we go through our reading today. So first, tiny dens. Like all octopuses, the giant Pacific octopus does not have any bones in its body. As a result, it can squeeze into small holes or cracks in underwater rocks. The giant Pacific octopus uses these small rocky places as its home or den. When resting, the octopus hides in its den. The only hard part of an octopus's body is its beak, which is found at the bottom of its body in its mouth. So over here on page 11, there's a picture of an octopus resting in his den. And on page 10, it's a little diagram that shows you the octopus's mouth and the beak within inside of the octopus's mouth. And remember, that's on the underside of the octopus. I want you to go ahead and pause the video so that you have time to write down one fact you learned about the octopus's den or body. All right, next we're going to talk about food. Dinner. When it is hungry, the giant Pacific octopus leaves its den to hunt for food. Crabs, clams, and other animals with hard shells are a few of its favorite foods. The octopus uses its strong beak to bite open its victim's shell. With its bite, the octopus also sends poison into the victim to make it stop moving. After that, the octopus brings the meal back to its den to eat. Says after it is eaten, the octopus pushes any empty shells out of its den. The pile of shells is known as a midden or an octopus garden. So we learned right here that they will use the beak to help crack open the shells, right? We learned that an octopus can shoot in the poison, which we kind of read that yesterday in our book. And we learned about how it brings its meal back to its den. So I want you to just take a minute and write down a fact about what the octopus eats or how it eats. Right? Next, we're going to talk about hiding from enemies. Changing color. The giant Pacific octopus is hunted by many animals. Seals, sea otters, and whales are just a few of the animals that will kill and eat it. Luckily, the octopus has a way of hiding from its enemies, even after leaving its den. It can quickly change its body color in order to blend with its surroundings. Says the giant Pacific octopus can change the look and feel of its skin to help it hide in the ocean. For example, it can make its skin appear smooth or bumpy. There's a picture over to the side. That's pretty neat that it can change the appearance of its skin, even the way the texture of the skin looks. So go ahead and take a moment to write down something about this defense mechanism that we've learned. We learned about how it can change the color and appearance of its body. All right, hiding from enemies. So another defense mechanism, an inky getaway. Sometimes a giant Pacific octopus is spotted by an enemy. When this happens, the octopus can play another trick with color. It squirts a cloud of black ink out of its body. The dark cloud makes it hard for the octopus's attacker to see it. Meanwhile, the octopus has enough time to escape. An octopus can move quickly by pumping water out of a tube-shaped body part called a siphon. The octopus sucks in water to fill the mantle and then pushes the water out to shoot itself forward. So there's a picture of the octopus's siphon right there on page 16, a little hole where it kind of sucks it in and shoots it out. And then there's a picture of the ink over on page 17, which we also learned yesterday in the book that we read, that it prevents the predator from being able to see or smell, which is pretty interesting, I think. So I want you to take time to write down one fact about this defense mechanism. You might want to write about the siphon or write about the ink. The siphon helps it to get away quickly. All right. So let's review the fact chart. Let's talk about what we have so far. So we've talked about the size. It's the world's largest octopus. It has 8 arms. Arms grow up to 16 feet long. Smallest is a wolfie, size of a penny, right? Habitat. Lives in the Pacific Ocean. Lives in shallow water or lives in very deep water. Arms, mantles, and suckers. So we learned about the different body parts. Arms attached to head. Mantle is a body part above the head. Mantle is shaped like a sack. Mantle contains the stomach and other body parts. Den and hiding place. Doesn't have bones, which helps make it be able to squeeze into tiny places, right? So it can squeeze in small holes or cracks. Lives in a den. Food. Beak is a hard part in the mouth. We learned that that helps it to crack open things. Hard shell food like clams and crabs. So that's what it likes to eat, and that's why the beak is important. It poisons the victim to stop it moving and pushes the pile of shells out of its den, and that's called the midden, right? So hiding from the enemies. Change color to hide from the enemies. Make skin smooth or bumpy. It can squirt a cloud of ink out of their body, and the siphon helps the octopus get away quickly. So all of these things that we've read so far will help us doing our narrative writing. Tomorrow, we're going to start that narrative writing in our Read Aloud video. So we want to be able to make sure that we have all these facts written down. So you might want to take a moment and pause this video in case there's something written up here that you do not have on your piece of paper. Because remember, you need to go ahead and start thinking about what you're going to write about tomorrow, which is why I put the narrative writing topic right down there to the bottom. You need to make sure that you have all of these things in your story. So you need to tell me a story about your octopus. What is your octopus's name going to be? You're going to need to tell me about the enemies, maybe list a particular kind of enemy. We learned a little bit about what likes to eat the octopuses. How will the octopus get to the jar that it wants? And how is it going to open the jar? So all of these things will be used in our story. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow.